Hi guys, welcome to the Social Work Race. You know, this is where we discuss all things on the front line. One thing I always forget though, please forgive, and that is please share and subscribe. I always ask people to do this. I always ask the listeners to do this at the end of the podcast, which doesn't help because you may not even be listening to the very end. But I'm asking you now, please share and subscribe. It will help this podcast to be seen by others. And there's some really valuable information in this podcast. This podcast is helping me as a professional. So do that, please. I'd appreciate that. This is where we talk about all things on the front line of social care, especially with social workers. You know, it's a tough time right now. You know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to attack, not today, but I'm going to attack some of the issues in the news, because the news is quite hot right now. Prince Andrew, Ghislaine Maxwell, Boris Johnson, all of that is happening right now. And there's been some good justice this year and last year, some really good justice. So I want to talk about some of my perspectives on some of the most recent things that have taken place in the news. Today, though, I want to talk to you about a topic. I think I've entitled it Them, That Lot. But what it's about is this is for those entering into social services, those who do assessments, whether you're like a personal advisor or a social worker, youth offending service, particularly those who are just entering into this field afresh. It's the difference between professionals and maybe the layman, generally speaking, is that, you know, society judges, but we assess. Society judges, but we assess. And it's the tendency for people to cast judgment on those who are displaying socially unacceptable behavior or socially unacceptable cultures. That is what we're looking at today. So what I want to do is I want to play a clip, a couple of clips from TikTok, really interesting. Here we go.
I'm on income support, but originally with income support you're meant to be entitled to £144 every 2 weeks, but I get £72 every 2 weeks because of deductions from crisis loan and budgeting loan. Now on me I've got £16 exactly.
Wow.
And that's got to last me till next week.
Wow.
I don't care
£16.
about me. I can go without like dinner and stuff like that. But then if he's going to benefit more than me, then so be it. All right, little man. Washing day today.
With a benefits bedsit that's too small for a washing machine and no cash for the laundrette, a trip to her mates is the only answer.
Hey, Kayla. Hi. Do my washing. Hello, Jason. Can you do these on a boil wash? Yes, I've done a hot wash. The amount of washing I've paid was super me. If I went down in the town and went to the laundrette, it cost £17 something. £17.40 I think it was.
She's washing her clothes at her mate's house.
Me and Eddie would be tramps. Simple.
I don't mind doing it for Stacey because, like, she does me hair.
26-year-old Kayla also relies on benefits, and she knows just how hard it is because she's already had 6 kids.
They're both attached to my bum. Kayla, keep your legs closed from now on, for God's sake. We are a Jeremy Kyle clan.
We are Jerry Cole, would love us.
We would outdo Jeremy Kyle. We'd outdo all of them.
Wow. You hear that? I mean, that's a lot. There's a lot to talk about here. And I was looking at the no, not yet. I was looking at the comments, and it, there's judgment out there. There is a lot of empathy as well. Some people were like, make childcare cheaper so that they can go to work. Someone was saying that I mean, it's a whole episode of a show, right? I actually watched this and she was so genuine and put her son first, unlike the others. So there's some empathy there. Some people are bashing money for tattoos because she has got quite a lot of tattoos, and they also smoke. So how do they afford cigarettes? She's got £16 till next week. That's not money. Someone again commenting about the cigarettes and the tattoos. Why don't you prioritize? Then someone here said, don't have the kids. And what's interesting is this. This is my take on it, right? Why is she having kids? Where is the father or fathers? And what would make a young lady like that? There's two of them, right? What would make a young lady at 26 have another child? Why would she have another child? What is a sense of purpose? Is she being encouraged? Is she being pressurized? Is she, is she stuck in a cycle of abuse? Who knows? These are questions. These are the questions that we have to ask. Like, it sounds simple. Why don't you just stop having kids, right? But it's not that simple because they're still doing it. And the assumption could be made that they don't care, right? Yeah. And so I'm bringing this up because I want you, especially anyone entering in newly, but I guess this is for anybody. I want you to just think for a minute why the cycle. I'm going to go into it a bit more. I want you to watch or listen to rather another video. Yeah. Listen to this. Here we go. There's another one with another two young ladies. I think one of them has children, but let's see how it goes.
Steph and Zara are enjoying a rare morning without the kids, but their benefit lifestyles are not everyone's cup of tea.
But your generations fail because you don't get into the education. You don't get off the benefit. You're not getting off your bums and creating.
How do you know that? Are you in other people's lives? All right, well, I'm on benefits, but I want a job. What? You say make parents sit on my arse? I don't sit on my arse. I go out and try and find work.
Industry. It's about us, college, entrepreneurial skills, make our own businesses.
Bye. I tried to get a job. She doesn't know that. She doesn't know what I've been through in my life to tell me anything about my life. She can't tell me nothing when she doesn't know nothing.
Do you know me, right? I've had my life crushed it. I've had everything provided for me. If I want it, I got it. Still now, if I want it, I'll get it. From being young, I've had everything I've ever wanted. If I wanted a Barbie, I'd fucking get it. I am not fucking getting off of benefits. That is just as simple as that.
Steph and Zara are enjoying a...
That's deep. Like, you have to ask the question. Let's go back actually. Let's go back to, there was a lady speaking to them at the beginning. And she was saying there's so much opportunity to do well, get off benefits, and be more than what you are. But the question that she wasn't able to address or didn't address was why? Why are you stuck in that cycle, right? And this is what we do is when we are professionals, we have to assess. You know what we have to do? We have to ask questions. The layman will judge easily, but professionals have to dig deep because we won't really know what this tree is about until we have a look at the roots. Do you know what I mean? We've got to dig deep and find out or look at the skeletons, to know what we're dealing with. We have to ask questions like why, what, when, how. And we always use theory to delve deeper into the meaning of what we're looking at. It could be social influence theory. social identity, conformity. Is this a culture of behavior? Because groups of people can influence the thinking of individuals quite easily. That's a fact. So if you're surrounded by people who don't care or who have a low sense of aspiration, who have a low self-esteem, who have a little awareness, where antisocial behavior is a part of their culture, then the likelihood is that those who are in that environment are going to do the same thing. There could be various levels of depression that manifest throughout multiple members of the same family or community because of their lifestyle. Let's be honest, a poor diet, is related to poor mortality, is related to high mortality. And if diet affects mortality, then surely it affects humans' functionality, how efficient we are, how well we do. These things are often missed. It could be a diagnosis, a learning need. Some young people are diagnosed with learning needs. Their development isn't as it should be. And so their thinking, decision making, and the cultures that they reciprocate or are part of impacts their development in society. And so aspiration isn't on the table for them because of their diagnosed or undiagnosed learning needs. What about if some of the behaviors we're looking at of just being happy to sit on benefits is learned behavior because that's what generations in the family have always done? What if, just like in some parts of the UK, there are few jobs and very little to aspire to? That's not their fault. They were born into that. That breeds culture. That means that their systems theory, their system, their ecology, their ecosystem is deficient. And if important pieces to their environment are missing, then how can we expect people to function effectively and even try to aspire? How can we expect that? Or mental health challenges. So this was quite deep for me. So I understand that lady speaking to them, in that second video, she was right. But there was an important piece to the puzzle that she missed, and that is why. So when we judge, we miss pieces of the puzzle, and we aren't really helping people just because we're making comments about their life. Oh, you can afford cigarettes. Maybe that's the only pacifier. People who have money can afford to work hard or live hard and go and buy their donuts or their cigarettes or their, whatever they want to buy, their bottle of wine. It's okay when you're working. But when you're not working and on benefits, everybody wants to be pacified at some point in the day or the week. But when you're on benefits, it's suddenly unacceptable. And just looking at that, to be fair, if someone has a miserable life or a life that they feel imprisoned, they don't see any way onto the ladder, maybe the ladder's too high for them, maybe the best thing that they've got in their whole life is a pack of cigarettes. Maybe instead of food, I'll smoke or take drugs or drink, because that's the only thing that brings me happiness. And maybe that's the only thing they've ever known to bring happiness. That happens, and that happens a lot. And that happens with the rich and the poor alike. Let me drop some judgment quotes on you just to give perspective. It's so important to just understand what we're looking at when we're seeing people who are disadvantaged as opposed to wasters. I'm looking at some of the comments and it's just not nice, some of it, These are disadvantaged, and our job is to help them up on that ladder. That's our job as care workers, as support workers, as family support workers, as key workers, as youth workers, as parenting support officers, you know, as schools, as social services, as nurses. We're supposed to help people on that ladder without judgment. Here's a quote. Never judge someone's character based on the words of another. Instead, study the motives behind the words of the person casting the bad judgment. See, when someone says something horrible or demeaning about these people that we've just listened to, we really should ask ourselves why you said what you said. Why did they say that? Ask those questions, because you'll find that actually they have an issue just as much as those who are struggling where they are. Here's another quote. Sometimes people do go wrong. There is no judgment needed. Wrong will take a short time or a long time to make the individual aware that something is wrong. And that is the beginning of that person's awakening. Love that. Because what it says to me is that judgment actually, it's a step backwards for them. People really don't like to be judged unless they're known. That's why we assess. We get into their lives and we find out how we can understand them better. And we are also aware that the help that we offer, they may not be ready to receive it. That's a reality. But one day they should wake up to some of the realities of their decisions. The sooner the better, but we cannot force change, and judgment doesn't help. All we do is support that. I've got one more for you. I think this sums it up nicely. It says, you never know what people are going through, because each person you meet has a story to tell. So instead of being judgmental, just listen well. Absolutely. 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 I love my job because I like to meet different people. That's one part of my job that it means so much to me. I love stories. I love to understand narrative. That's just something I discovered in my later years. What makes someone do what they do? And I almost, you know, for the most part, I really don't care what it is. It's just to know what the story is and to see if we can help people see their story and work their way out. Do you know what I mean? That really is our job. So when you're entering into social services, even social work or any kind of work where you have to produce assessments, dig deep and allow your service user to feel unjudged, but rather supported. Thank you, guys. Listen, that's a little something from the social work race. I'm Curtis, and I'm looking forward to you listening again. Please share, please subscribe, put it out there. We want the frontliners to know that there's a resource for them. If you have a topic that you want discussed, or if you want to join me on the show, let me know. I'll look forward to it. Otherwise, look after yourself.